We live in a world where people call out other people's mistakes on social media. We live in a world where people are calling each other out in their mistakes for clout. I'm not into that. I'm not a part of that culture, that type of cancel culture. Yes, we should police ourselves. Yes, we should educate one another, but it seems nowadays that people are doing it strictly for the views, for the numbers. Hey, if I call this YouTuber out, I call this breeder out, then I will get all the people looking at my page and etc. But anyways, I'm not going to do that. In this video, I am going to give you guys my mistakes. I'm calling myself out. Every mistake I ever made in the 8 years of owning reptiles. So, check it. Let's get to it. Alright, this won't be in any particular order for least to greatest. I'm just gonna rattle off all the mistakes I've made as a reptile keeper. First mistake, husbandry. I have Jafar. He's my very first snake I ever owned, and most of the mistakes on this list, he was the unfortunate snake that had to go through that lesson with me. But as you can see, he survived. He's healthy, he's thriving, and I never made the same mistake twice. One was husbandry, enclosures being too big or too small. I was one of those people who just went to PetSmart, bought a glass tank, put him in it with a light bulb and some substrate, and boy, was that messed up. I don't know how he survived. I did not have enough substrate or the right substrate because his sheds were horrible, and of course the glass tank doesn't hold humidity as well. So once I learned all that and my mentors told me the right way to do it, I immediately switched him to the tub with the heat mat, and everything happened. Everything got better sheds, better husbandry. So don't research the snakes. Don't buy it too big or too small. Have enough hides, have enough water, make sure it holds the temps. And that leads me to number 2 mistake, not using proper bedding. Now this mistake I had with my crested gecko Moonlight. At first everything was on paper towels because I was going through quarantine, but then I wanted to switch to the loose substrate, and that was a disaster because Moonlight accidentally ate some of it and got impacted and passed away. So that is the biggest mistake I've ever made, and I regret it. And I paid the cost. You know, I lost my, so I never make the same mistake twice, whether it's with a lizard or a snake. Always do your proper research, get the right bedding. Loose substrate, in my opinion, not good for crested geckos unless you have the right ones for like bioactive. But even still, you got to be careful, make sure that they don't get impacted and swallowed. So that's my mistake number 2. Mistake number 3, first few years of having Jafar, I did not have a thermostat connected to his heat pad. Yeah, I was one of those idiots, and I apologize, but what do you know, I learned from my mistakes. Luckily he never got burnt, he never had scale rot, and besides being in the glass enclosure, his sheds were great once I got him out the glass enclosures, but when he was in the glass enclosure, his sheds was horrible. So always have a thermostat. Also, when you don't have a thermostat, you're at risk of setting something on fire. Don't do that. Be careful. Always have a thermostat connected to your heat source 24/7. That should be the first thing you buy. And there are all different types of alternatives. They have some for 100, they have some for 30, they have stuff in between, and they all work. You just have to do it, do your research, and buy the right product. Number 4 mistake I made as a reptile keeper, impulse buying. Now I did not impulse buy Jafar. I did my research. I didn't impulse buy Jimmy. It was the in-between snakes. So back when I had just Jafar and Jasmine, I believe the next 2 snakes I had was Stitch and Lafayette. I bought them within months of each other. Impulse buying is not, you don't want to do that. Luckily, I had the resource, I had the funds, and I had the enclosures, but it's just it's just not a good thing. Don't impulse buy, because a lot of impulse bought pets get resold, breed home, or just don't thrive well. Always do your research and wait. If you have 2 or 3 snakes, you don't need another one, unless you're a breeder and you got a business. But if you're just getting pets, you don't need another one, at least not right away. Don't buy multiple snakes months at a time just because you saw it and you thought it was cute. No. And a lot of people who impulse buy don't even have their enclosure set up. So that's a mistake I've made before. So, and to piggyback off the impulse buying mistake, another mistake I made when I impulse bought Lafayette and Stitch is that I didn't quarantine them. I threw them in the same room, stacked on top of each other with Jasmine and Jafar. No, don't do that, because Lafayette was from PetSmart and Stitch was from a totally different breeder than Jasmine and Jafar. And so that was a dumb mistake that I should have quarantined them. I did not. I was in a single bedroom apartment, didn't have another room to quarantine them in, and that's what happens. That's why you shouldn't impulse buy, because if you ain't got the space or the room in your house and you're just constantly collecting animals, how are you going to quarantine and make sure they're all good? Luckily, I got lucky, and Stitch and Lafayette were both clean, no mites, no diseases and stuff. But who wants to take that risk? I don't. I took the risk, but it could have ended badly. It could have went south real quick. So don't impulse buy, and don't not quarantine your new animals. They cannot be with the other animals, because you're going to risk a lot of health issues along the way, and it's just a risk that you don't want to take. I took that risk and luckily I got out of it, but to me it's not worth it, because had Stitch or Lafayette had mites and bought into the collection, that might have been a tragedy, or diseases like IDB or just anything could have happened, and that would have been lights out for the snakes I already had. Next mistake I made, which almost took Jimmy out, was taking the snakes outside when it's too hot or too cold. Now for me, I know not to take them out when it's too cold. Once October hits, the snakes do not come out for no photo shoots, no educational shows, none of that stuff. We have a cap. We have an on season and off season when we do our business of creative reptiles. But I made the mistake of the too hot aspect. I took Jimmy out. It was sunny, wonderful day. Decided to take him to the park to do an educational show for the kids, and he almost overheated. Like he started making weird noises that I've never heard before, not even for a snake with like our eyes. This was weird. He started breathing heavy, and it's like neurological. He just started going haywire, like he couldn't control himself. And he's a Central American boa. He doesn't have any wobble or whatever, but that's how he acted, and it freaked me out. Luckily, I was able to get him out. I stopped the show short, and I got him in. Luckily, the park had an indoor facility, so I took him indoors, gave him, you know, some room temperature water, and he recovered fast from it. But that could have been a death sentence for my snake. So I never take my snakes out when it's over 82 degrees. I don't take them outside for that, especially if there's no shade. Now if there's a place with shade or a place that's indoors we can go in and out of, like where we are now, then I might. And then if it's over 9 degrees, we ain't never, no, not stepping outside. It ain't worth it, because snakes die quicker by heat than by freezing. Next mistake as a reptile keeper is winter preparations. Now people in Texas learned this the hard way. A lot of people in the South learned this the hard way when we had that winter storm, like I think it was like in 2020, is not having proper winter preparations like generators, hand warmers, additional external heating in case your power goes out. That is a must, and you must invest in it if you're owning reptiles, because if they freeze, it's over. It's lights out for them. Another mistake that I made, but luckily it wasn't a death sentence to nobody, but it could have, and that is feeding right after regurgitating. Now I've had a snake to regurgitate on me, and at first I didn't know it was regurgitating. I thought they did not just eat the animal, they like rejected the rat, and the rat just got old and spoiled, because I thought they had ate the rat, but no, it was actually regurgitation. And there is a period where you have to wait before you feed again because of the acid and germs in their bodies. They have to heal from it. When you throw up, you know, you have the acid taste or whatever. Snakes go through the same thing, so you have to heal from it. You can't eat right away after throwing up. So when they regurgitate, it's best to wait exactly 14 days or more before feeding again. And snakes are fine if you don't feed them for 2 weeks. They're not going to die. So I would say if your snake regurgitate, please wait the full 14 days. I would say 15-16 days just to play it safe, especially if you don't know the exact date that they threw up. But it's so their bodies can heal, because if you feed them right after regurgitating, they're only going to regurgitate again. So that is another mistake that people like myself have made. Next mistake that reptile owners make, I know I've made that in the beginning of owning reptiles, is not having enough money in savings for vet bills. When I had Jafar and Jasmine, Lafayette and Stitch, everything was good. Never had any health issues, never had any problems. But then I had my girl Coils. I got Coils, and for years Coils was great, but we had installed new air conditioning in my house, and Coils enclosure was right under that air unit, and so I didn't think nothing of it. And you know, we got the air unit, and it caused her RI. The change of temperatures caused her RI, and at the time I did not have enough money for a vet, but luckily the exotic vet here in the city had payment plans, and so we were able to work out a good deal that I could afford, and give her her medicines on time and quickly, and she healed from it, and luckily. But that's a big mistake. Don't buy any pet, dog, cat, fish, whatever, if you're not prepared. Gerbils, hamsters, if you're not prepared for the vet bills or have money away in savings. Every time I get paid, I take a little out, 10, 20, 15, whatever. It's not a lot, just a little out, put it up into a little savings for the vet. And whenever we get paid for like photo shoots and stuff like that, a little small percentage goes towards savings for vet bills, because you never know, you might have a mite infestation, you might have something worse, that multiple snakes got sick at one time. Luckily for me, it was just Coils, but it could have been bad, and I'll have a big vet bill had I not had savings, or if my vet did not offer payment plans. So always save some cash, put it in a drawer somewhere and forget about it until, just in case. And last but not least, the last mistake I've made as a reptile owner, I'm calling myself out for this because this happened just last week, and I've been owning snakes for 8 years, never had this situation happen to me until last week, and it was 100% my fault. I was the idiot, I was the dummy, and that was not locking up the enclosure. Even if you're cleaning enclosures or you're feeding and you're thinking, hey, I could just come back later, I can, you know, or I leave it cracked just a little bit, saying, you know, as I'm refilling water bowls and things like that, always lock up your enclosures. If you have a tub, or whether it's a tub, a tank, or a PVC enclosure custom built, always just lock it, just shut it and lock it, even if you're coming right back seconds later, because these guys are fast, these guys are sneaky, and I end up losing Hades that way. Luckily he was only gone for a day, and we found him in the restroom, but it was anxiety ridden, it was stressful. And I know some people, you know, in Facebook groups, on Instagram, and even in my personal life, who lost snakes, and snakes were gone for like months at a time, or they never found them again. So that is the #1 mistake that I think everybody should remember. Even if you're just walking away for 2 seconds, shut and lock the enclosures, because these guys are fast. Hades is a baby boa, and he is fast. He escaped and disappeared so fast that he was gone for a day. I didn't get him to next night. So don't make the stupid mistakes I've made. And so this is my calling out video. I'm calling myself out. I've made some mistakes. I'm human. Some mistakes could have been fatal. Some mistakes were fatal in case of Moonlight. And some mistakes, you know, just big or small. Don't make these mistakes. Learn from my mistakes. Learn from others that you might see on social media. And learn from them. Don't make the same mistakes twice. And if someone corrects you, like my mentors, they're not afraid to text me or message me or DM me and correct me on some things. take it humbly. Don't take it so personal, because at the end of the day, it's all about these animals. These animals are very important. These animals are important to us, at least they should be. And if you want to make sure they're alive and thriving and well, you know, it's okay to take constructive criticism and learn from your mistakes, like I have over the 8 years of owning Reptile. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully I wasn't the only idiot in the world who made these mistakes, and you know, we can just move forward and not ever make any mistakes like this again. But I am Elias, this is Jafar, and these is the Snake Prince Vlogs. I'll check you out in the next video. Peace. Yo, so I was in the middle of recording this vlog, and I had Jafar with me, but I had Jimmy off to the side, hanging out, just chilling, and this mine that went in between his carrying case and the wagon that he's in and went to sleep. Like he was like, "You're not using me for the vlog? I'm going to bed." Good night.